Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
It was a late Sunday morning, and I was savoring the rare quiet, curled up on the couch with my coffee. The aroma filled the room, mingling with the autumn chill drifting through the open window. That's when Gabriel's voice broke the calm, cutting through like a sudden gust. "My mother's moving in with us next month," he said, without even looking up from his tablet. I felt the mug pause halfway to my lips. "What?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "Since when?" "Since last week," he replied, still engrossed in the screen, as if he were discussing some minor schedule change. "She can't live alone anymore. It's been decided." I blinked, trying to process his words. "And who exactly decided that?" I asked, setting my cup down carefully. I could feel the muscles in my neck tightening, a familiar strain that always surfaced during moments like these. Gabriel finally lifted his eyes, his expression impatient. "What does it matter? She's my mother. She needs help, and we have the space." There it was, laid out as a fact, not a discussion. He spoke with the same detached authority he used when approving business contracts, as if I had no more say in this than I would in ordering new office supplies. I could feel my chest tightening, a slow burn that traveled up to my throat. "And what about me?" I demanded, my hands trembling. "You didn't think to ask how I felt about this." His brow furrowed, a mix of frustration and disbelief. "Why are you making this so difficult, Daphne? It's family. You're supposed to understand." A wave of anger surged through me, crashing against the restraint I had tried so hard to maintain. "Understand what, Gabriel? That you've made a huge decision without even consulting me. That you expect me to be okay with turning my life upside down for a woman, whoa." "She's my mother," he interrupted, his tone growing colder. "She raised me, and now it's my turn to take care of her. End of story." I swallowed hard, my mind reeling. I wanted to scream, to shake him and make him see how suffocating this felt. But I knew it would be pointless. Gabriel was already settled in his decision, and nothing I said would change that. Silence stretched between us, taut and brittle. I could feel him waiting for me to give in, to do what I always did, nod, and make the best of it. But I couldn't. Not this time. "So that's it," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just supposed to handle everything, no questions asked." Gabriel shrugged, his indifference like a slap in the face. "I thought you'd be happy to have something to do. It's not like you're working." My breath hitched, the words stinging more than they should have. He said it so casually, as if my life had no purpose outside of accommodating his needs. I felt a flicker of something inside me, a tiny flame of defiance, but I forced it down. "I can't believe you," I said finally, shaking my head. "I really can't." He set the tablet down, his jaw tightening. "This isn't about you, Daphne. It's about doing the right thing for my mother. I don't see why you're making this harder than it has to be." The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in as his words settled over me. I wanted to push back, to shout that he was wrong, that this was about me, about us. But as I stared into his eyes, I could see the steely determination there, the unwillingness to bend. I knew that any protest I made would only make things worse, would only add fuel to the silent, smoldering fire that had been burning between us for years. I took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. "Fine," I said, though my voice felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. "I'll do it, but don't expect me to pretend I'm okay with this." Gabriel's lips twitched, almost as if he were about to say something, but he stopped himself. Instead, he simply nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good," he said, picking up his tablet again. "Then it's settled." And just like that, the conversation was over. I stood there, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. As I turned and walked out of the room, I felt a sudden, fierce resolve grip me. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't keep letting Gabriel make all the decisions. The week after Gabriel's announcement was a blur of arrangements. The phone never stopped ringing, and my days were consumed with calls to moving companies, furniture stores, and home health aides. Gabriel's mother, Gloria, was to arrive by the end of the month, and there was no time to spare. Yet every time I glanced at the calendar, a knot tightened in my chest. I was on the phone with the cleaning service when I heard Gabriel's voice from the doorway, startling me. "You need to make sure her room is set up by Friday," he said. "She'll be visiting for the weekend to see how she likes it." I covered the mouthpiece, my pulse quickening. "What? You didn't tell me she was coming this weekend?" He raised an eyebrow, as if my surprise was unfounded. I thought it was obvious. Why else would you be getting everything ready? I felt the irritation bubble up, but I held it back. "Fine," I muttered, returning to my call. But as soon as I hung up, I spun around to face him. "You can't just spring things on me like this, Gabriel. I'm not a mind reader." He sighed, as if exhausted by my reaction. "Daphne, please. It's a simple visit. Why are you making it such a big deal?" His casual tone was like a slap. "Because I'm the one doing all of this, Gabriel. I'm the one running around trying to make sure everything is perfect, and you just decide things without even thinking how it affects me." He stepped closer, his gaze softening. "I appreciate what you're doing, Daphne. But this is for my mother. She's family. We have to do this." I wanted to believe him, but the words felt hollow, and I couldn't shake the sense of suffocation. Gloria wasn't just family. She was the woman who had spent years belittling me, making cutting remarks about my background, my career, or lack thereof, as she liked to remind me. And now I was supposed to welcome her into my home, cater to her needs, and act like everything was fine. Later that night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the weight of the situation pressed down on me. Gabriel was already asleep beside me, his breathing steady and oblivious. I glanced at him, feeling a pang of resentment. I wondered if he even realized what he was asking of me, or if he had convinced himself that it didn't matter. The house felt colder than usual, and I pulled the blanket up to my chin, trying to find warmth. But my mind wouldn't stop. Memories of past arguments, Gloria's sharp remarks about my lack of ambition, the way Gabriel would brush off my concerns, all flooded back. I could almost hear her voice, crisp and patronizing. "Maybe if you had a real job, you wouldn't have so much time to complain." I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block out the memories, but they kept coming. 20 years of trying to prove myself to be enough, and for what? To end up feeling like a guest in my own home, my opinions discarded without a second thought. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen, the smell of freshly brewed coffee filling the air, but it did nothing to soothe the tightness in my chest. Gabriel came down, dressed for work, and casually mentioned the weekend plans as he grabbed his cup. "I'll be out on Saturday," he said, not even looking up. "So you'll need to handle things here when she arrives." I froze, my mind spinning. "Out? You're not even going to be here when she moves in." He looked at me surprised. "I've got a client meeting. You know how important this project is." I felt a crack, like something deep inside me finally gave way. "No, Gabriel," I said, my voice firmer than I'd heard it in years. "This is your responsibility, not mine. I'm done bending over backward to make everything work while you just disappear when it's inconvenient." He stared at me, his brow furrowing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I won't be here on Saturday either," I replied, my heart pounding. "You want your mother to move in? Fine. But you'll be the one dealing with it, not me." For a moment, he looked stunned, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Daphne, be reasonable." I met his gaze, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't look away. "I am being reasonable. More reasonable than you've been, Gabriel. I'm tired of being the only one who compromises." As I spoke, I felt a strange calm wash over me. It wasn't defiance, exactly, but a quiet, resolute certainty. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to keep letting Gabriel and Gloria dictate my life. Not anymore. I didn't wait for the weekend to make my move. By Friday afternoon, I had already packed most of my belongings into a few suitcases. The house felt eerily quiet as I dragged the bags to the front door, each step echoing like a countdown. Gabriel had left for work, completely unaware of my plans, and that suited me just fine. I was halfway through loading my car when my phone buzzed with a message from him. "Mom's arriving earlier than expected. She'll be there around 3 p.m. Could you set up her room? I read the text, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. Even now, he was expecting me to fall in line, to be there for a situation I'd made clear I wanted no part of. No, I mutter under my breath, tossing my phone onto the passenger seat. Not this time. The engine roared to life, and I felt a strange thrill of liberation. I was halfway down the driveway when I saw Gabriel's car pulling in. My heart skipped a beat. He wasn't supposed to be back until the evening. I stopped the car, my hands tightening around the steering wheel. He stepped out, confusion etched on his face, and walked over to me, glancing at the suitcases in the backseat. "Daphne, what's going on?" His voice was sharp, but I caught a flicker of panic beneath it. I rolled down the window, trying to keep my tone steady. "I'm leaving, Gabriel. I'm going to my parents for a while." He leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "You can't just leave. We talked about this, my mother. I'm not your maid, and I'm not your mother's caretaker." I cut in, my voice rising. "I'm done, Gabriel. I'm done being treated like I don't matter." He blinked, as if the words stung, but I saw his expression harden. "You're overreacting. You can't handle a little responsibility, is that it?" A bitter laugh escaped me. "Responsibility? You mean the kind where I do everything while you make decisions for me?" I shook my head, feeling the frustration boil over. "I can handle myself just fine, Gabriel. I just don't need to handle your life anymore." The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. For a moment, I thought he might say something to stop me, to make this easier, but he just stood there, his jaw clenched. "Fine," he said finally, stepping back. "But you'll be back. You're not strong enough to do this on your own." I stared at him, letting his words sink in. Maybe that was what he'd always thought of me, what Gloria had always told him. But standing there, ready to leave, I realized how wrong he was. "Watch me," I said, before rolling up the window and driving off. As I merged onto the main road, my heart pounded, but the weight that had been pressing on my chest for weeks finally began to lift. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I was willing to find out, even if it meant facing it alone. The day I filed for divorce, I didn't tell Gabriel. I wanted to keep it on my terms, after years of bending to his. Instead, I waited until he was out at a meeting and called my lawyer to confirm everything. I could feel the weight of each step, the papers tucked securely in my bag, like a secret waiting to be unleashed. When Gabriel came home that evening, I was in the living room, the divorce papers neatly placed on the coffee table. He glanced at them, then at me, confusion clouding his face. "What's this?" he asked, his tone wary. I took a deep breath. "It's over, Gabriel. I'm filing for divorce." He blinked, then laughed, as if I just told him a joke. "Are you serious? Daphne, you're not thinking straight. You're upset, but this is ridiculous." "No," I said, my voice steady. "What's ridiculous is pretending this marriage has been anything but a way for you to control me. I've made my decision." His expression darkened, and he stepped closer, towering over me. "You can't do this. You have no job, no way to support yourself. How do you plan to survive without me?" I felt a spark of defiance ignite inside me. "That's where you're wrong." I stood up, facing him, not backing down. "I've been working remotely for months, saving up. I have enough, and I'm not afraid anymore." The silence that followed was thick, like the calm before a storm. Gabriel's eyes flickered with a mix of disbelief and rage. "This is about my mother, isn't it? You just don't want to deal with her, so you're running away." I almost laughed at how easily he missed the point. "No, Gabriel. This is about us. You never saw me as an equal, only as someone who would bend to your will. But I won't anymore." He reached for the papers, his hands trembling slightly as he flipped through them. "You're being selfish," he snapped. "I'm dealing with my mother's dementia, and this is how you repay me." "I'm not responsible for her, Gabriel. I'm responsible for myself. And I refuse to keep sacrificing my happiness because you can't handle your own life." I grabbed my keys, ready to leave, but he blocked my path. "You're making a huge mistake," he said, his voice low, almost a threat. When this falls apart, don't come crawling back to me. I met his gaze unflinching. I won't, I replied. And when it falls apart for you, don't expect me to be there to pick up the pieces. I brushed past him, my heart pounding, but with each step toward the door, I felt lighter. There was no going back now. I wasn't afraid of his anger or his empty threats. I was free, finally. And as I closed the door behind me, leaving Gabriel and everything he represented, I realized just how much I had been holding back. Not anymore. I moved into my parents' apartment, a high-rise overlooking the city, with a sense of relief I hadn't felt in years. The divorce was finalized and I was free. Every morning, I'd wake up to the soft light streaming through the window, feeling lighter, stronger. It was a new routine, no longer catering to Gabriel's demands or worrying about his moods. One evening, as I sipped tea on the balcony, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Gabriel, and I hesitated before opening it. We need to talk. It's important. My chest tightened. I knew it wasn't over yet. There was always a catch with him. But I was done running. I replied, "Meet me at the cafe tomorrow at 3 p.m. The next day he arrived looking disheveled, his usual confident demeanor replaced by a nervous energy. I sat across from him, calm and composed. "What is it, Gabriel?" His eyes darted around before he finally spoke. "My mother, she's worse. I can't handle her care on my own. I need your help." I took a slow breath, steadying myself. "Gabriel, I understand this is difficult, but you made your choices, just as I made mine. I can't come back." His face twisted in frustration. "You think you can just walk away? You owe me, Daphne. After everything you owe me." I shook my head, feeling a strange sense of clarity. "No, Gabriel, I don't owe you anything. But I'll tell you what, there's a care facility nearby that specializes in dementia patients. I'm willing to use part of the settlement money to help cover her expenses." His eyes widened. "You do that?" "Yes," I said, standing up, signaling that this conversation was over. "But only if you accept that this is the last time you'll try to pull me back. I'm moving forward and you need to do the same." As I turned to leave, Gabriel grabbed my arm. "Wait," he said, almost pleading. "Please, Daphne, I need you." I pulled my arm free. "No, Gabriel, you need control and I won't give it to you anymore." The following week, I helped arrange for his mother's care at the boarding house. And then I did something I'd always dreamed of but never dared. I enrolled in a design course. For years, I pushed my passion aside, but now it was time to nurture it. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Months passed, and I was finally at peace. I'd made new friends, immersed myself in learning, and even started designing a line of handmade jewelry. My life was mine again. One afternoon, I received a call from the care facility. "Mrs. Laurent," the nurse said, "Gabriel's mother wanted to speak to you." I was taken aback, but I accepted the call. "Daphne," her voice was faint, but there was a sincerity I hadn't heard before. I'm sorry for everything." I blinked back tears. "Thank you," I whispered. "I appreciate that." It was a small moment of closure, a glimmer of peace I never thought I'd find. I knew then that I'd made the right choice. I had freed myself from Gabriel's grasp, and in doing so, found a new beginning that was mine, entirely mine.